welcome to Daz and Wargaming. You've joined me with special guests, Richard. Well, special guest, your host, really, but it's Richard. Hi, Rich. How are you?
Hello.
You're good?
I'm all right.
Yes. And our host for this evening, Lewis. Hi, Lewis.
Hello.
You all right?
Yeah, you.
Yeah, all good, all good.
Thanks.
So yes, as the title would suggest, we are going to be talking all things D&D. Now, I'm going to put a disclaimer out there straight away. I have no idea. Like, I've never actually played D&D.
Yeah.
It feels really bad saying this. I feel like I should just cancel the channel and everything. Like, but I'm very interested by it. But just never found either time or other things crop up. I've just never really had the opportunity to play. So, Rich, what are your experiences with it? D&D? Have you had much?
I played a few times several years ago, and slightly more recently, I've someone pointed me in the direction of D&D Beyond, so I just make random characters and that for no reason,
right?
Other than why not?
Okay, so you're going to know a bit more than what I do, by some large stretch.
Tiny bit.
Okay, well, a little bit more than nothing. Okay. Yes. So, Lewis, you play. Am I right to say a lot of D&D?
Yep, I play. I DM sometimes.
Wow, nice.
Yeah, I watch a lot of streams about D&D.
Nice. So,
I'm pretty deep into D&D.
So you are the right bloke for the job then to talk us through this.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I'm forgetting anything wrong.
Well, it is what it is,
Go
mate.
for it.
We all get things wrong, so it's part of being human, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Right. So what we'll do to start off is this. If you're watching this on YouTube, then we are live on Twitch at this moment in time of recording. So we will be sort of maybe answering questions in the Twitch chat. So if you're not over on Twitch, then do go and follow and join us when we do these live recordings. And anyone that is in the chat now, if you've got any questions for Lewis or anything like that, then do shout them out in the chat. So Lewis, I don't know how prepared you are because you don't know what I'm going to be asking, but it shouldn't
I will try my best.
It shouldn't be anything too terrible. So basically, are you able just to give a quick rundown to anyone out there that's like myself? What is D&D?
Absolutely. What do you want? Do you want a history lesson first?
Well, I mean, yeah, just give us like if you were, I don't know, I guess just trying to sell it to someone that's not yet invested in it. I guess like a background of what it is. And the basic principles of it. I mean, go as deep as you like, mate.
So, D&D, which stands for our good old Dungeons and Dragons, was originally created in the 70s by the leader and infamous godfather of D&D, Gary Gygax. In different variations and forms it is taken, it had a bit of a bad stint in the US because it was considered as part of recruiting people to follow Satan.
Right.
Interesting fun fact for you: the company that brought D&D to this fair land of the United Kingdom was Games Workshop. That's what they started in. They started in bringing D&D to this country and also D&D miniatures, which then led into the wonderful company that we know and all love now.
And there's our tenuous connection to our normal topics.
Hey, see, I can link this in.
There you go.
But the crux of D&D, is basically a role-playing game. Basically, you have one individual who acts as the dungeon master or game master if you play other role-playing games, which are derivatives of D&D, shall we say. That person is involved of running the campaign or the world or the setting or however you want to do it. Then you have a set of players or characters as they are known. Those characters and players can take the form of different races, So you have humans, for example, dwarfs, elves, etc., etc., etc. The list goes on and on as more books come out, which we'll get to in a minute. You then have different classes, which basically means the type of thing that you do. So you have like a barbarian, a fighter, a druid, a wizard, a warlock, a sorcerer. I can go on forever with classes because they are getting more and more as the world goes on. In terms of D&D, it works in additions. So like we have in terms of rule books in Warhammer, like we're on 9th edition for 40k.
Yeah.
And we're on 3rd edition for Sigma. So currently we are what's known as 5th edition for D&D. So for a game that is almost 30 to 40 years old, we're only on edition 5. Edition 5 seems to be the longest edition in terms of lifespan, because it's also been seen as the most popular.
Right.
It's also quite easy to get into with 5th edition compared to previous editions. So yeah, that is the basic history and a real basic overview of the game. The game components themselves, so obviously, do I have my examples? I do have my examples. I have some things. So in terms of said game, people want different things. So obviously, Rich mentioned about D&D Beyond, which is a digital app for making characters. So first thing you're going to need is some dice.
Now, I was going to say, no problem. Yes. I have many of those, but hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. Am I right in thinking that my measly D6 are not sufficient enough for
Correct.
D&D?
So D&D uses 7 dice, also known as the what did I say? It was on my story earlier. Polyhedral. That's the one, which is 7 dice. Those 7 dice boil down to a D20, a D10, a D12, a D8, a D6, a D4, and a percentile die.
Right.
I think that's all of them. Yeah. Basically, majority of the mechanics of the game is run by D20s.
Right.
So D20s are used things for like skill checks, combat, generic like sets. Who was the designer of D&D? The original designer was Gary Gygax. It's now owned by Wizards of the Coast, and I believe the lead designer is still a gentleman by the name of Chris Perkins.
See, I read the question from the chat there as a statement that Lewis, who was the designer of D&D, I was like, were you?
If I was, I'd be a very rich man. Yeah. I'd be very, very happy.
Yeah.
So that's the dice. D6s are used depending on weapons and things like that, usually for damage. But yeah, you've got the other sets of dice to use.
Yeah.
So the basic components, if you're a player or character, you'll need a player's handbook. And I realised that my camera, unfortunately, has put a blurred background on, so I do apologise for that. Let's take that off.
It's
so
okay.
So people can actually see stuff.
There you go.
Ta-da!
There you go.
So, Player's Handbook. That is your base entry if you want to get playing. Right. Highly recommend it. It's also online in a shorter format unless you buy the digital copy. Gives you the base races and the base classes.
Right.
Happy days. And that's enough to get you started. It will take you through the whole character creation. It'll tell you what you need to do. As part of that, you have your D&D sheet. Ooh.
Awesome.
Which has different things on it. So in terms of the actual sheet, you've got things like armor class, your health, your initiative bonus, etc., etc. But we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
For a DM, if you want to DM, things that you will need are a DM screen, not necessary, but handy because it has all your useful information on it. a Dungeons Master's Guide, which gives you all the base rules of how to run a game, etc., etc., etc. And then you have two options. If you're feeling adventurous and brave, you can do what is called homebrew. So you create the world yourself. You can do whatever you wish. Or you go down the route of a pre-made module, which is done by Wizards of the Coast. So you have different ones for different levels. So you usually have one that will cover like level 1 to 5, 5 to 11, 11 onwards, etc., etc. They're preset campaigns, so you follow a set route, but you can deviate from that if you wanted to.
Right.
Chaos got trick. What editions did you guys start playing D&D? For me, it was only 5th edition. I haven't played any other edition. People keep offering me to play old style editions, but I haven't done that. I don't know what edition you played, Rich.
It was probably 3rd edition, given how long ago it was.
And Daz, I'm guessing you haven't played any edition?
I haven't played any edition.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm still probably considered a newbie in terms of rules, but because the edition that I play in, but I've played quite a long while.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's basically the crux of those bits and bobs. If you were a brand new player and you want to know how to get into it, there's some great ways of doing it. You can either, number one, get the starter set, which gives you dice, a starter campaign, some pre-made character sheets, and you can off you go. Basically, someone plays DM, someone plays the roles of the characters. It's quite a nice short campaign. It eases you in really nicely, tells you what you need to do. That's how I got into the game.
Right.
A group of people that I knew had bought a starter set and said, "Do you want to give it a go?" I was like, "I don't know what this is. Let's do it." Another great way of doing it is if you go to a local friendly gaming store, they'll most likely will have a group.
Mm-hmm.
The great thing about the D&D community, like the Warhammer community, is they're very welcoming. They're always happy for new players to come in and give it a go, and they're super helpful as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my two ways. I also probably recommend looking into some streams. So Penny Arcade is a good one to look at. That used to be run by head creator of D&D that I just mentioned, Chris Perkins. Especially their PAX Arcade games, they're hilarious. Critical Role, if everyone has come across that before, that's probably one of the reasons why 5th edition has gone. I'm just trying to think of some other ones that are quite good to watch. Some of the ones on, I think there's a one on College Humor that's pretty good. I can't remember what it's called. I can't remember. There's also a good one that I follow on Instagram now, which is, let me just grab my phone so I actually credit it with the correct name. Team Drew's Basement. That's a good one to watch. There's also some other great ones. There's also some in the UK as well, which are pretty good. Just put in D&D stream and you'll probably come up with like 100 hits because it's become more popular, which is only a good thing. So that's it really. That's a basic history and really, really bite-sized chunk of what the game is. In terms of if you wanted to pick up a character, for example, basically what you do is you get yourself a character sheet. So let's run creating you Daz a character, for example.
Let's go.
So we get you a character sheet,
Yep.
So we've got you a character sheet. So first thing you need to do is you need to think, oh, what race am I going to be?
Okay.
So you've got a couple of options from the base game. So you can either be an elf, a dwarf, a human, just trying to think what, a tiefling, a halfling, a gnome, dragonborn.
Half elf and half orc as well.
Yes. So those are the base ones. So if there's any of those that you like the sound of,
Okay. Well, as Chaos Dwarf isn't an option, I think
Yes.
Dwarf is the next logical.
Okay, so we've chosen dwarf.
Let's go with Dwarf.
Right.
Yeah.
So now we're doing dwarf. So now you got to choose a class. So do you want to be a fighter? Do you want to be a healer? Do you want to be a religious man? Do you want to be some sort of, undwarf thing of using magic?
Oh, come on, it's Daz. He wants to hit things. Oh, no.
Magic.
You want to go magic?
Oh, if there's an option for a dwarf like using magic, then I'm going all.
Warlock is probably the closest to.
Yeah, so I was going to say, yeah, Warlock's probably going to be your closest to Chaos. So shall we say Warlock?
Okay, yeah.
So we go Warlock, which is cool. So now we need to do is we need to roll your stats. So your base stats that you have are Strength, Dexterity, Constitution, Intelligence, Wisdom, and Charisma. Now, the way that I do it is the old school way, which is rolling some d6s and then choosing the highest 3, I think it is.
Okay.
So we could just, if you've got d6s next to you, Daz, we can roll some d6s.
Oh, I'm sure I can find some.
Does Daz have d6s? Really?
So let's do the first one. So we'll go. So do the first roll for me. I'm going to write this down.
Okay, here we go. Can't believe we're doing this live. Here we go.
Yeah.
So D6.
4d6.
Okay, all at the same time?
Yep.
Okay. Let me get some more D6. Oh, good roll.
And then choose the 3 highest.
The 3 highest, I got 2 6s and a 5.
So what's that? 12.
17.
17. Nice start. That's a nice start. Roll again.
The top 3 again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
6, 5, and a 2.
So that's 11. 14.
13.
13.
God, live math. This is not good. Next.
Oh God, numbers. No.
Right, here we go. A 5, 5, and a 4.
So that's 14. Yeah. And again.
6, 5, and a 3.
14 again. How many more? 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 more rolls, mate.
Oh. A 5, 2, and a 2. Sorry.
5, 2, and a 2.
Yeah.
That's 9. Yep. And then your last roll.
A 5, a 3, and a 2.
So 10. Not a bad set of stats, really.
Cool. I like that. I don't know what they mean, but
So now we've got those roles. What we do is then we distribute those options within our categories. So with a warlock, I think the recommended one to go with, might be intelligence. Hang on. So basically, in the player's handbook, you have some recommended where to put your highest stats. So let's just find a wonderful warlock page. It's in alphabetical order. Here we go. Warlock. So, class features.
I hope this book doesn't say da 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 da.
So basically, for a quick build, they recommend that your first highest is charisma, and then next followed by your constitution, and then choose. Right. So what you would do is then you'd put your first in charisma, which basically means that your spells are based off your charisma level.
Mm-hmm.
So you would put 17 as your charisma.
Cool.
Very nice. Your next highest is then saying constitution, so you choose one of the 14s. That's basically to do with your health.
Right.
It's not bad.
Yeah, so I'd probably then put maybe intelligence as the next 14 if it was me,
Right.
because it just helps. And then 13, maybe put that as your wisdom.
Right.
And then dexterity, we don't really care about dex, so we'll make that as the 10. And then what does that leave? Strength. We'll make you a bit weak
Cheers, mate.
because you've chosen magic over weapons.
Okay.
So once you've done that, you then get modifiers depending on those numbers, which basically then affect your skills.
Right.
So basically, people have skills like here. So on my sheet, so you can see this is one of my characters. These are where all the strength and charisma and stuff goes. So those numbers that we just rolled would stick in these.
Yes.
And then underneath it, as I get closer, you're probably not going to see very well.
No.
There is like a modifier, which is generated by the number. And then you have all these wonderful skills
Right.
in this box here. And these like are different things. So they could be like acrobatics, animal handling, athletics, deception. They have like they're based off like a base skill.
Right. Okay.
So for example, like let's say arcana, which is to do with magic and stuff like that. That's based off intelligence.
Right.
So if you've got a high intelligence section, your bonus from that score will then add to that skill check.
Right.
So the higher you go, the better number is, the better it's going to happen when you come to a check.
Yeah.
Now, to do a skill check, what happens is the DM will go, you say, oh, I want to investigate this wall for whatever reason. I think there might be a magical rune or something on it. Your DM will go, no problem, do an arcana check. They'll have what's called a DC, which is the base level that you've got to try and either equal or beat to be successful.
Right.
So say you go up to it, you roll your arcana check, say you've got a +6. So I don't know, let's say you roll a natural 12 on your d20. You then add 6 to that roll, that gives you your total score, basically.
Right. Okay.
And then, you'd win. Well, you wouldn't win. You'd be successful.
Yes.
So we've done all that. You've basically made your character, you've given him a name, you've decided on different things, you've decided on your background, you've decided on your starting equipment, you get to choose your spells. So this is my spell sheet, which has got all my spells on. That changes as you go up in levels,
Right.
which is quite nice. And then you can start adventuring, basically.
Okay.
And then, you can either put a voice on if you want, you can do weird shit within reason.
I can't believe you just swore on a YouTube video.
Oh.
It's okay. Everyone gets one.
Let me, I get two.
Sorry, YouTube.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So yeah, and then obviously your DM would then guide you through your adventuring campaign, and then you would level up accordingly depending on what type of campaign it is. So if it's like a one that's done by certain points, which you level up, or whether it's done by XP,
Right.
that's a DM's choice. And then you can just have fun with it and just.
So I guess
how it rolls.
as a player, if you've got that you got a DM there anyway that is going to set the scene of what's going on anyway and allow you to make certain choices of what to do, like, and guide you through it in a way.
The thing with the DM is it's sort of guiding the story, but you have to be prepared for the players to go, I want to do that, which you weren't expecting.
Yeah,
absolutely. Like as a DM, you can prepare like 2 hours worth of campaign, and then you end up doing 15 minutes of that part of prepared stuff because your player's gone, oh look, there's a cart over there, let's go rob that. And they're like, okay.
Yep.
So sometimes DMs are going to do it on the fly,
right?
which is a DM that can do that confidently and well is a very good DM.
Yes. So with my character sheet thus far, then, do I have free reign now to make my own character in a model form?
In model form, yeah. So depending on the campaign or who's doing it or how it is set up, etc., people can use models to represent themselves on the battlefield. Some DMs will use maps and like create scenery to like make the game more immersive. But sometimes DMs could use a game that is just purely using your imagination.
Okay.
So you could have literally nothing and just your character sheet.
Right.
It can be really, really like either end of the spectrum. Most campaigns that I play in has a miniature. So majority of my characters that I've played in the past have had a character of some form.
Right.
Which you can design, paint, and do whatever you want. There's some great companies out there that does D&D miniatures. Wizards of the Coast do their own. Hero Forge, if you want a purely bespoke one. 3D printers, Thingsverse, Etsy. Just trying to think. Or you could use stuff from Warhammer, or use a pre-existing miniature. It doesn't there's no like sandbox, as it were. It's
no. Okay. So if I wanted to represent my warlock with a certain demon smith, I could.
What that has a flaming hand.
Yes.
Absolutely.
It would be a good way to represent Eldritch Blast.
Exactly. And I've already got his first name sorted, so it's going to be Keith.
Done.
I mean,
halfway there.
So I just got to write a bit of, and he's got a background already.
Yeah.
I just got to write. If I wanted to, I could write a bit more about that. Just so it makes it more immersive for myself.
Absolutely.
And then I'm ready to go, basically.
Yeah,
pretty much. We just have to finish off filling out your character sheet, and then you're there.
I mean,
awesome.
That's great. Try thinking up a reason for why a gnome is a barbarian.
Okay.
I think I think it used to be very, very strict in what races people used to play, but people are starting to use more races as it's going along. And as they bring out new races more and more, the game is becoming a lot more richer for it, as it were. So yeah, like if anyone in the chat has any questions, go for it.
Yeah.
Like absolutely go for it.
Yeah. So it looks like I've just started D&D then, basically. So I need now to actually have a game to take part at some point. So
yeah, I imagine it won't take long to persuade Ash. Rich has already got characters made.
Are we doing a Daz Wargaming one? Is that what we're doing right here?
Oh, well,
are we all
by the sounds of it,
yeah.
If we get a couple of other people that we know involved, we would have enough for a party.
If anyone's like local to us or knows us personally that's in the chat, or you're watching this on YouTube and you want to take part and you don't mind being on video in one of our videos, taking part in a Daz Wargaming D&D game or like a campaigny type thing, then give us a shout in the comments or in the live chat now.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Dan says, have you seen the community D&D episodes TV show? Sorry.
Yes, I have seen the community D&D episodes, and I also have seen the IT Crowd and Big Bang Theory. I haven't seen Stranger Things because I haven't actually seen any of Stranger Things, because people say that a lot to me, and I haven't watched Stranger Things.
Yeah, don't get me started on Big Bang Theory and D&D.
Mr. Mark said he could be tempted. So
cool.
So yeah, this could be quite fun. This could be quite fun. So anyone that wants to jump in, is there a cap on the amount of people that can take part?
So usually rule of thumb is I wouldn't exceed 7 people.
Right.
Purely because
does that include the DM
would
or
no, that's players. That's just players.
Actual players.
So just because it becomes hard to manage.
Right.
I would say probably the sweet spot is like 5 or 6 players. Just because as soon as you start to go above that sweet spot, you're trying to then manage the party, and if the party splits, it can be a little bit of a headache for the DM.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. I would say like if you start to get to like 10 players, like that's just a little bit ridiculous. personally.
Okay.
Jonathan said he'd join in.
Yeah. So we might keep it small initially. What about things like can you start like a campaign, or do you call it a campaign?
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you start one with a certain amount of players and people join throughout? Like,
Yeah.
Can it grow? Like people just join your sort of like your campaign halfway
Yeah.
through?
I've played in campaigns where people who are playing a character, I should say, sorry, have had to leave the campaign for a period of time because of whatever reason, whether it's because they work overseas or whether they've just got other commitments. And basically, the DM will just write that into the story to say, this person says goodbye, goes off on an adventure to complete a quest on their own, etc., etc., etc.
Right.
And then, it could be the next session or the next 2 sessions, you then bump into someone who is either looking for help or is part of the campaign to then move the story along, and then ends up becoming a part of that group. Or, like, for example, the one I'm playing in at the moment with my work, the DM is actually anyone who at work who says, "Oh, I hear you're playing D&D. That sounds interesting. I'd like to, watch it." Instead of watching it, he goes, "Well, you can play one of the NPC characters for a little bit, for a session." So it's like a guest spot. So you've got that option as well. So if players just wanted to go, "Oh, actually, I just want to tip my toe into it,"
Yeah.
they can come in for one session and then disappear,
Okay.
which is completely fine as well.
That's cool.
I think
Yeah.
the more open and accessible you make D&D, the better everyone will have.
Got a question.
Yeah.
How does joining an ongoing campaign work in terms of XP and character level?
So if, for example, you're in a campaign and all your players are, I don't know, say level 3, and you have a new player coming in, you've got a couple of ways of doing it. You can either make that character sheet at level 3 to match the other players, or what you can do is you can say make a character but you're 1 level below what the rest of the band is, because that shows that you're new, fresh-faced, still a bit green, need to prove yourself, for example. You're never really above the level of other characters. It has happened, and I have seen it happen, and it has happened on some streams. But that character has only been there for like a couple of sessions and then has disappeared.
Right.
But yeah, that's a challenge of the DM, and that's something to be agreed with the DM and the player who wants to join.
Yeah.
What did I forget? That gives them hard difficulty, level 10 players, level 1 new player. You certainly could do that. The only downside is if the way that you do, if you have a certain campaign, your monsters have a difficulty rating, which is based off the levels of the players, and it's based off the majority of the players. So if you're a level 1 player coming into a level 10 game, the likelihood is you're going to get one shot and killed straight away.
That leads on to the question there, isn't it, from Mark, which is if you die, are you out of the game completely?
So there's a couple of aspects here. So it depends on how the DM runs the game. Within the game, if you die, so for example, if I was playing my character, I go into combat, I become 0 hit points. I am what's called as I've basically like blacked out, or whatever you want to say. I've then got a couple of options. Either I try and hope that my party is really kind to me and they're going to heal me and bring me back to life. If they don't, which 9 times out of 10 that happens, you'll then have to roll death saving throws, and you have 3 chances of succeeding. If you fail all of those, then yes, you will be dead. However, there are spells in the game that can bring the dead back to life. However, many DMs in the community have made that difficulty and add like certain levels of things on top of that to make it harder, because it was just like, oh, you're dead, you're back. And it's like, but also like the death of a character could also move the story in a different way. So it's kind of an important thing, and it's got to be handled really carefully, and I think very well. I've
Yeah.
been in some games where it's gone, well, you're dead. That's it. And you're like, oh, well, I've got no motivation or emphasis to like carry on now. And you could potentially lose someone from the game forever as well. So that's important. So you know, if you did die and you still wanted to play D&D, you could make a new character and could like tip the balance of the pie in a different way.
Yeah.
Congrats, players! You are facing a dragon. New player, welp. I get to start a new character at record pace. This is very true. Like that, yes, you could get eaten by an ancient dragon. That happens.
Yeah. So in D&D then, is there rules that you know the game comes to a natural conclusion, or is that up to the DM or?
So usually what happens is when you're running a campaign, you usually go from level 1 to level 20.
Right.
So level 1 being the beginning, level 20 is that's when you've reached like peak. That's it. You are a hero, avenging God. Because it's then hard to run the game at level 20 because your characters are all quite powerful. They can deal with most threats in D&D. So you say when you get to level 20 and once you've reached X, Y, and Z, you're ready to go, basically. But you know, you could say, "Oh, I want to run it from level 1 to level 10."
Yeah.
Or I just want to run this one book, which is level 1 to level 5. Or D&D have just brought out something cool, which is called the Adventuring Guild, which is a preset determined adventures, which runs from 1 to 5, and a person could like join a group with a level 1 character, play that, and then move on to the next group. And that's just like bringing of like vibrance and different variation to the game. On death saving throws, a natural 1 is 2 fail saves, 2 to 10 is a fail, 10 to 19 is success, natural 20 is 2 to 6 is... Yes, you are correct. Well, that's very good. Level 20, that's some wishful thinking. Yeah, you've got to get to level 20 and try and still survive. Yeah. That's always difficult. I have been in some games where it has a TPK, which is a total party kill. I've had that happen twice in games that I have played. Not games that I've DM'd, only games that I've actually played in. That's probably my unfortunate use of my character, but hey, that's me. I'm a bit chaotic.
Yeah.
You also have alignments of characters, which also adds a very interesting element to the game. So you could have paladins and religious people who are lawful good, which can be an absolute pain in the arse sometimes, not going to lie. Or you have people who are evil, which are also difficult to deal with. So you've got two balancing scales over there. Like most people play in the middle, which is either neutral good, or chaotic neutral. But yeah, you can have people who go, well, I'm lawful good, so I'm going to protect that individual. You're not going to kill him.
Yeah.
Or that person needs to be tried, and those types of things. So that also adds another element to think about in the game.
So what is the cost of entry for someone playing? Would you say like relatively cheap? I'd imagine.
Yep. So if you wanted to, you could just use the free rules online,
right,
and D&D Beyond, which is free. It gives you like a certain amount of character sheets that you can create.
Right.
My account's free. And then you could like create a character that way without any rules. If you wanted to buy the book, I think the book's about 20 quid if I remember correctly.
That's not bad at all, is it? I'm used to Warhammer prices, so
like I could be wrong. Like it could be more than that. It could be 30.
But still,
I don't...
you need the one book, don't you? That is it. It's your one-stop place for everything you need.
If you
two, if you ever consider being the DM, but
a DM can be a bit more expensive because obviously you buy campaign modules.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
And stuff like that. But that's up to you. Like a DM, if you're gonna DM, the likelihood is you probably won't play again because you're just addicted to DMing. I think I have some of my DMing stuff next to me. Hang on, bear me 1 minute. But yeah, you got some options there. It's not like here we go.
One thing that I've always wanted to do is maybe I don't know if the two can splice together in this way is like use all of like the tiles and stuff that you get with like Cursed City, Silver Tower, Shadows Under Hammerheart, all those Games Workshop quest games, Warhammer quest games, and use those tiles and things like that as your board for your Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. So in Critical Role, Matt Mercer, who is the DM of that game, he uses a lot of like Warhammer-based terrain and also miniatures. He's kind of moved a little bit to I think it's Dwarven Forge he uses now. But for example,
I think it is.
But for example, like one of the big beasties, like big like end bosses in like campaign 1 was essentially Nagash. Was the Nagash model that had been modified a little bit, but yeah. So for DM, you have this. So this is a DM screen. This one here is for Waterdeep. So as you can see, lovely artwork. Oh, premium. Oh. But the great thing is like for this, it's also got all the DM's notes and like quick references rules. So for example, it tells you what the currency of the land is, what it translates to, like pickpocketing things, newspapers in the region, tells you places to go, so like gives you inns names and their qualities. Also gives you a nice little table of like mini scenarios if you want to quickly roll up something. Also gives you the lore of the land, which is quite important in this campaign, because if you get caught doing stuff, you could end up dead for whatever reason. You also then have the campaign module.
I'm sure that's necessary.
This one is Waterdeep Dragon Heist, which is a lovely campaign. Highly recommend it. And then, like for example, it gives you different examples. So, for example, this is the summer chapter, because this does it through seasons.
Right.
So you start on a season in this campaign, and then you end on the corresponding season as it goes through. But also like gives you different starting points within the campaign. So this is kind of a dynamic book compared to previous books, which is quite cool. And it's also set in a very famous D&D Waterdeep. So it's great. So it's like an old D&D region, Waterdeep and Baldur's Gate and stuff like that. So quite famous areas. So if you want to go old school, give this one a go.
Nice. So it looks like then a D&D campaign, or our first sort of part of that, is probably going to be our first proper look into doing a battle reporty type thing on the channel, because I think it'll be the easiest to record.
Yeah.
Literally just like an overhead or something like that, or at a slight angle above, sort of like looking down. So I think that would be great for the channel to do.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah. So it's Solmond says I painted up Jabberslith model and used it in D&D game, running as a monster. Just homebrewed its health and attacks.
Nice. I like it. That's very creative.
So yeah, I would like to use the tiles that come in the Warhammer things. I think they're great because they sort of have a lot of detail on. They're really well made now, so they're immersive enough, but they don't stick out. So you can actually see. There's nothing blocking like across a table or any miniatures and things like that.
Yeah,
which I quite like. I quite like.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that would work quite well. Obviously, like as role playing goes, there's much more than just D&D. So you have things like Pathfinder, Warhammer Fantasy, is it Dark Heresy? Is that the 40k one? You have Aliens. Like the list is massive now. Like when I got into D&D, it was just purely D&D, Pathfinder, Dark Heresy, and I think Warhammer Fantasy. Like now, it's like there's so many different role-playing games. It's mental.
Yeah,
but in a great way.
Yeah. So yeah, I think I understand.
Call of Cthulhu.
It's a great game.
I think I understand it a bit more now.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah, no, it's helpful, very helpful, and hopefully I'll learn more and more. And I think now it's just literally a matter of jumping in there and having a go and learning as I go.
Yeah,
and just hope I don't die.
You'll be fine, mate.
Yeah, so I think I'm happy with the base stats that we've rolled up for my character already. I'm sure.
Have you written those down?
No, if you can send them over to me afterwards, that'd be great.
Yeah, we'll do.
And then I'll sort something out. I'll have a look, see if I can make a character doodah for it. But yeah, well, I'm definitely going for Keith, the magic using dwarf demon smith. Yeah, so
I like it.
Had to be. It had to be.
Keith has risen again.
Definitely.
Yeah, and you'll get a dice set and become a D&D dice goblin, according to someone 123. Given your tendency to hoard dice.
Well, I've got enough D6.
Yeah, just a few.
I've got enough D6. I know that much. It's just these other weird dice that I've yet to experience.
As far as I'm aware, realistically, you only need 2 D20s for when you've got advantage or disadvantage.
I think I got one of those in Blackstone Fortress. I got one.
Yeah.
Actually, I think there's one in Curse City as well. So.
Oh, Jonathan says you need at least 5 sets.
And in terms of Solomon's question, what we'd be playing, we were base rolling up him a dwarf warlock. So
yeah, we made my character basically live on here, and I rolled quite hot apparently.
Not bad stats.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, I've sent you Daz those stats. It's your choice where you put them. Yes. If you follow D&D Beyond, it will tell you like each step of what you need to do.
Perfect.
And those stats, then you can choose where you want to put them.
Cool.
I'm still waiting to roll my gem. Oh my god.
I will have a look at it. I'll have a look at it, and I'm sure we can find some time soon to get the ball rolling on having a first game of that. Even if it's not a full battle report, we'll definitely do some video documentation of it.
We could do like we can go through like player like creation, like on basic bits and bobs. We could like easy to like record a screen doing it, or someone writing it all down. Yeah. Or we can do like player introduction. That's always a good one.
Something like that. But yeah. So yes. What I'm going to do now is just say goodbye to all the YouTube people, and we're going to carry on a little bit on Twitch for a couple of minutes just to finish up this conversation. Anyway, so stay with us. So yes. So thank you everyone for checking out this video, and thank you to Richard and Lewis for joining. Lewis especially for all that information, shedding some light on D&D. It's been really, really helpful and great to hear. If you've got any questions, shoot them down in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time, happy hobby all. Bye bye.
Happy hobby all.
Hi, this is Ash from Daz and Wargaming. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe while you're at it. And why not check out the rest of our content? See you next time.